Hey there. I thought I'd record a video about connection, about connecting with yourself, because the way you connect with others has a lot to do with your ability first to connect with yourself. And one of the things that helps me a lot connect with myself is to go walk around in nature. Right now I'm in the forest, sitting on a foldable chair that I brought with me, just breathing and kind of let my thoughts slow down a bit, and also making sure that I really feel the ground underneath my feet. I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes I can get a bit in my head. So I have lots of thoughts and ideas about all kinds of things. But when you're too much in your head, you can also get a bit lost in it, which is why it helps us to really ground ourselves, to come more in touch with our bodies again, and to let our energy circulate all the way, not just up here. And for some people, that can be very challenging. It used to be very, very challenging for me. There are many reasons to that. There are multifaceted and complex reasons, much more than what I would be able to pinpoint in one video. But one thing that comes to me that I want to talk about is really, how safe do we feel to be here in this body, in this experience? Do we feel that we are loved and supported, that we are somehow held, especially when we're struggling, when there is fear or just not knowing? Or do we perceive that as a threat? Sometimes we might get a bit paranoid, as if there are things out there that are trying to make us have a harder time than what we would like to have. But the question is, if those things are in your mind, where do they come from? Like, why would you doubt that you are loved? Why would you doubt that you're being supported? And like I said, there can be many reasons to why people have those thoughts and feelings. I would like to talk about one of the ways this can happen to people, because this is something that I also can connect with, and maybe you can too. And it goes all the way back to the time when we were basically born, the time of our lives when we were still inside the womb, but also the time around our birth, after birth, and how loved and contained we felt during that period. Because those first moments of our lives, though we might consciously not remember them, they have quite an impact on how we create lives, how we create our lives, how we move in life, how much we dare to do, how many risks we dare to take, and where we hold ourselves back. And that has a lot to do also with the connection that we had to our caretakers, to our mothers and fathers at a very young age. I've noticed in my own work, working with people, in my own process, me being my own case, that we live in a time where there has been a lot of emotional disconnection for a very long time, where lots of people feel somehow emotionally disconnected from themselves. And that can even result into an experience where, let's say, if our parents had internal disconnection in that time when we were born, we might have had an issue to really attach ourselves to them. We might have felt that invisible block to really properly connect, and so that initial need for safety might have not been fully established at that time. And that can create a lifelong pattern where, though we grow up, we become adults, we have our lives, we have our jobs, what lingers is this underlying sense of threat that somehow we're not safe, somehow it's not fully safe to be here, that there might be a threat out there, that something might happen and turn things upside down. There's this vulnerability somehow that, what if life has not our back? What if things end in a bad way? And like I said, this can come from this very early experience. Now the challenge is, how do you work with that? If that's something you notice in yourself, how can you actually work with that? Not just to be aware of it in your head, or to realize, I have these thoughts, I have these doubts, I worry a lot, or that can also show as in that you feel like you have to work extra hard to prove that you have a right to exist, or that you're worthy of receiving love, of the things that you desire. How do you work with that? I can tell you a little bit about my own story, which is that in my case I had to go back to these experiences, as in I had to emotionally reconnect with those experiences and really let myself process and feel certain emotions that I've had in that time, where I felt very anxious, very afraid, where I felt that there was no attachment, where there was not enough connection. And I've been really blessed. Like lately, I've been living with two very young children. One of them, when I met her, she was 5 months old, and the other one that I'm staying with right now, with their family, of course, and the child. She's now 14 months. And it's really, really beautiful and interesting for me to observe how many times a baby checks in if they're still connected with their mother. They're always reaching, they're always scanning, where is she leaving the room, panicking if she leaves the room, right? But also just reacting to subtle nuances and energy. If there is tension in the room, they react, they sense it, and they start crying. And what I've been observing is that they both have this immediate need to regulate, to come back into connection. So they reach for their mothers. They reach to feel that security, that there is still connection. Both of the mothers are very dear friends of mine, and they both are very, very available to their children. So that's where I get to see how that looks like when it's healthy. But what I also know, and I've met many people also in my own journey who didn't have that experience, or where that safety was not there. And so what helped me in my process was to go back to these experiences, to let myself open up to that fear, that terror, where that connection wasn't there, and do it in a way where there was someone who could also be with me, so that I knew, even though I was going back to that place inside of myself, there was someone that was witnessing me in this process, so there was presence. I think in any therapeutic journey and holistic development type of journey, there is this goal that you would be able to manage this by yourself. And of course, that's what we all want. At some moment, we want to be fully capable to navigate ourselves by ourselves, right? That's at least an ambition that I've noticed in myself, and also in other people. That desire for sovereignty. And a lot of the times, coaches and therapists and people in personal development, they make it seem as if you should just right away go to that place where you can navigate and regulate yourself by yourself, where you just know what to do. You can close your eyes, you can meditate, process whatever there needs to be done. But what's often missing is this knowing and understanding that in order for you to actually be able to do that, you need to have developed your own capacity to regulate. And usually that is a capacity that you develop as a baby, as a child, through co-regulation. So when you're, like I said, when those two babies cry, they need their mom to be there and to hold them and to really fully be present, so they can calm down, because now they realize, okay, they're safe. And funnily enough, one of my friends, she also has a 3-year-old daughter, so I'm also watching her, and it's the same for her. Like, she needs her mom to co-regulate with her so that she can calm down when she's having something going on. Children can be very emotional, and it's through that learning, repeated experience over and over and over, that a person can naturally develop into an adult who knows how to regulate themselves. Though I do think even a healthy person still needs co-regulation. I think in some moments we all need each other to co-regulate. So that's not something that we should avoid. But that mere capacity to regulate yourself can only be born if there was enough co-regulation as a baby, as a child. And unfortunately for many adults nowadays, that didn't happen. It had not happened for me. It had not happened for many people that I've known and worked with also. So that experience needs to be repeated, which is why, though that might feel counterintuitive sometimes, or it might feel scary and risky, in my opinion, the best way to learn this, if this is a skill that you notice that you've been missing, is to learn it with somebody else. A person, a professional that can really be present with you, so that you get to know what it's like. And at some moment when that capacity has fully integrated into you, you can then make that step where you start to give this to yourself. And then it becomes your nature, like riding a bicycle. At some moment you got it, and then you can do it. And I know firsthand, as an adult, maybe also because I'm a man, I notice there's a bit of a difference between men and women. Especially as a man, you have that cultural, societal belief that you need to be able to get shit done by yourself. It can be extremely vulnerable to let yourself be seen and to be witnessed in your own pain by someone else. But I would really encourage you, if this is something that, if this resonates with you so far, to take that risk and to let yourself be seen by someone that can really be present with you, who's not scared of your deepest, darkest fears, or um, your vulnerability. Yes. Let me know if this resonates with you. Let me know if this is something that speaks to you, or if you know someone who you feel like that person actually might benefit from co-regulation. Yeah, and if you benefited from this video, I would appreciate if you could comment, if you could like it, support this channel to grow. And I would really love to hear from you. Let me know what this does for you, what it brings up. And also, just so you know, in case you do want support and you want to learn how to regulate yourself, or there are experiences in you where you feel you just can't quite grasp them, you can't touch them by yourself, you're very welcome to reach out to me. And if I can help, I'm happy to. Right, thanks for watching.